So I'm white British background. My parents originally came from Yorkshire, and they moved down to London because where they came from there was very little opportunity, and they obviously knew they wanted children. So they came down to London and worked very, very hard, alhamdulillah, in order to raise a family where there was greater opportunity. I'm the youngest of 3 children. I've got 2 older brothers, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
And I wasn't raised with any particular religious background. My dad's an atheist, so, and my mum always believes in like a higher power, like a god and angel, so she's quite spiritual in that sense, but we never had a specific religion put on us. I think more of a traditional thing. We went to church, and I don't remember anything about the service, but I do remember being given an orange with a bit of ribbon around it, with a candle in, which apparently is a Christingle. And that's one of my... I remember it being very cold. It's called a Christingle.
Okay.
That's what I was told anyway. And that's my first experience of religion in a physical sense.
Okay.
And that's a memory that I guess has
stuck with you.
Stuck with me for whatever significance. I think coming from an English culture, we very much keep ourselves to ourselves. That's sort of what the English people are like, I guess. We sort of close our doors, and what goes on behind closed doors stays behind closed doors. When I had friends who had this mentality where like family was really important to them, and I used to see elements in them that used to intrigue me. So, for example, like, you know, they used to love their families and have really close relationships with their parents and things like that. And I used to quite admire they were quite patriotic to their, what I thought was like a religion or a culture. And I remember having a Lebanese friend who I used to see these elements in them, and they used to say they were Muslim. So I believed that that was Islam, what they were showing, this patriotic thing for their country, and thinking that was actually what Islam was. And that I bought a Quran when I was 17. I didn't tell anybody, I just had it because I was intrigued, and I thought, well, they've led a different life to me, which I respect because they have this close family tie and this real strong love for who they are and what they believe in. So maybe if I read whatever it is that they've been reading, or i.e. the Quran, then I can understand and appreciate some of that. But what I soon realised was that there's a big difference between Islam and culture, and what I was experiencing was culture. I mean, of course, Islam does say that the family is important and loving your parents and things like that, but the actual other aspects that I was seeing wasn't actually Islam. Okay. And I worked with a Sunni brother, and I remember him fasting for the month of Ramadan, and I used to sit near him, so I just used to ask him questions all the time because I found it really fascinating that he was 20-something and he could actually be going out, going to nightclubs and getting drunk and things, but he chose not to. So why was it that people of the same age in the same office were doing those things, but yet this one guy wasn't? And I remember speaking to him and asking him lots of questions and things like that, and he gave me an ayah of the Quran, which for me just summed everything up in my life. And I remember him saying to me that, you know, life's hard, but it says in the Quran that no, like, Allah doesn't give a soul more than it can bear. And it had a really profound effect on me because I actually really thought about what he said about this particular ayah, and it really made me understand some of the difficulties that I'd had in the past, and that actually you have 2 options. You can fight, you know, difficulties and just never progress, you just like stagnant with your thought, or you can choose to overcome them and become a better person. So it's almost like difficulties are a blessing, because through difficulties you learn patience and you learn to have strength that maybe you don't think that you actually have, rather than turning around and saying, I'm not going to deal with this problem. You've been given that problem for a reason, and Allah's given that problem to you because Allah knows your capabilities and knows that you are able to overcome this particular thing, alhamdulillah. So I remember saying to her, but Muslims don't believe in Adam and Eve. And she was like, no, we do believe in Adam and Eve. And then, of course, it's like Adam and Eve and Abraham and Moses and Jesus and all these prophets, they all come under Islam. And I was like, okay, I never knew that. Like, why? How could I have not known that? But of course, in the West, that's what we're given. We're given a very blurred picture of Islam, you know, like suicide bombers and terrorists and loud, shouty people and things like that, you know, with the oppressed women. So through her, that I started to actually learn about Islam and realise that...
Is this your sister-in-law?
This is my sister-in-law, yeah. Okay. And I realised that it's actually really simple and it's actually very easy. And I remember saying to her, but praying 5 times a day. I have a child and I have to go to work and I've got washing to do. I've got a house to run, you know, I've got a home to run and all these other things. I've got friends to see. How would you, you know, how can anyone realistically pray 5 times a day? And of course she said to me, oh, well, Shiites combine their prayers. And I was like, so you're basically saying that it's really hard and to make it easier for yourself, you're combining your prayers. And she was like, well, yeah. And I was sort of taken back by that. And she said, Islam's not supposed to be hard. It's there for you because it gives something to you, but it doesn't stop you from living your life. And I was like, okay, I've really got this whole Islam thing the wrong way around. And so it was through her that I started learning small bits. And it's always good to have someone on hand who, for me, I always try to trip up. So, you know, I'd say to her, but, you know, people blow themselves up and they go to heaven and they get 72 virgins and this big thing which we're always told in the West. And she was like, no, we don't believe in that, that's not right, and all this sort of thing. So I kept trying to trick her up, you know, trip her up with these questions. And she always came back with a logical answer. And I couldn't fault what she was saying. So if I couldn't fault it, did I, you know, it was like, so you kind of could say that I believed in it, but I didn't know if I wanted to be a Muslim because if I'm a Muslim, then I want to make sure that I'm doing it properly. And how am I going to do it properly when I don't speak Arabic and I don't have this and I've never done this and all these sort of things?
Reminds me of when I was converting and I thought to myself, this all makes sense. You know, I have no arguments against it. Everything makes perfect sense. It makes so much sense that I'm sure that once I've converted, inshallah, within 20 years, my whole family would have converted and half of the country would have converted. Not with the sword, of course, but just through logical argument.
Yeah.
And then you slowly start to realise it doesn't work out that way. Is this something that you're familiar with? Or?
Yeah, I recognise that. I felt like when I discovered Islam, for me, it was like, wow, this is the truth. You know, we're all searching for the truth. I think other people just find it at different points in their life. For me, I felt like I'd just been told the biggest secret ever. And it was the secret of knowing how to exist in the way that we should exist. I need to be praying all my prayers. I need to start right now, and I need to be doing all my prayers today and tomorrow and the following day until, you know, the end. And I need to be fasting as well. Not only do I need to be fasting, I need to be reading the Quran, you know, every day. And I need to be reading about all the prophets. I need to be reading about all of the Islamic laws. And I went through this phase where I believed that